All right, you never really know who you're going to deal with when you happen upon them in life. This guy right here, if you lived in Louisiana at the time he was a deputy sheriff, you might have gotten pulled over by him, or maybe you were swatted by him and his fellow Blue Line members. If you also lived in Louisiana, maybe your child was taught by this woman right here. You never can tell. They look so happy, don't they? They just look like a normal couple. Nothing going on. Nothing going on under the covers. Louisiana Sheriff's Deputy and SWAT Commander is sentenced to 100 years in prison after allowing his wife to use, yeah, you're reading that right, in cake batter for cupcakes that she fed to her students. And I just want you to take a second right now and put yourself in the shoes of the parents whose kids ate those cupcakes. How infuriated would you be? I'm going to go over some of this. Apparently, this guy just got sentenced and his wife just got sentenced. But I want to go over it because it serves as another example of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Does power corrupt everybody in the same exact way every single time? I'm not saying that. But power does have a corrupting influence. And these people had some deep-seated, horrible issues going on in their hearts. A former Louisiana Sheriff's Deputy and SWAT Commander will spend the rest of his life in prison as he was sentenced to 100 years after pleading guilty to a slew of sex crimes on Tuesday. Now, let me just say, 100 years in prison. He's 46 right now. Let's say he lives, let's say he lives another 40 years to the time he's 86. Well, for 40 years, the taxpayers are going to be paying for this guy to be alive every single day. So who really got penalized here? Is this really just? Wait till you see how sick this guy and his wife is. One of the 150 horrific crimes, and they are horrific, and from the further reading that I did on this, what this article says and what this article says right here from the New York Post doesn't even scratch the surface of how deeply dark and disturbed and demonic and horrible they were. One of 150 horrific crimes saw former Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office Deputy Dennis Perkins, 46, I'm not going to say it, into a cake that his teacher wife had made for her students at Westside Junior High School. His wife, Cynthia, 37, was sentenced to 41 years in prison in February for pleading guilty to her role in her husband's crimes, which also include producing child. As part of her sentencing, Cynthia agreed to testify against her husband. So they cut her a deal. Well, you're not going to go to jail for 100 years like your husband, but you will go to jail for 41 years. And there's probably going to be parole on that. They say that there's not, but 10, 15, 20 years down the road, hey, good behavior, you guys will get out. Perkins, who was first arrested in 2019, told reporters that as he left the court in Livingston Parish, quote, "I just want to make this statement. Jesus Christ has forgiven me, and I'm grateful for that. And I hope and pray that anybody that is affected will also find forgiveness and healing through Jesus Christ." I don't believe one word this guy says. Do you? I don't believe one word he says. This guy is psycho bonkers. At Tuesday's hearing, Perkins cried more than once, they say. Here's their mugshots. While also at the hearing, one of his victims gave a statement saying, quote, "You're absolutely not worth my time. Instead of protecting, you chose to abuse. Have a nice life in prison." I hope he has a horrible life in prison, and I'm sure that that's what this person is saying sarcastically. Unbelievable that they would do that. But wait, we haven't even scratched the surface on what they were involved in. The victim also stated her hope that the former deputy spends the rest of his days living in fear. There's a way you could ensure that. Perkins entered a plea and not cost the taxpayers a whole lot of money in the process. Perkins entered a plea to 1 count of second-degree rape, 2 counts of sexual battery of a child, 1 count of video voyeurism, 2 counts of production of child porn involving children under the age of 13, and 1 count of mingling harmful substances, not only in the cupcakes, but also into energy drinks. The plea agreement was forged so young victims in the case would not have to testify. Prosecutors said they met with each victim to get approval to go forward with the plea deal. In 2019, the former SWAT commander and his wife were arrested when authorities found a photo of the pair naked with a minor after receiving a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And guys, I'm sure that this is the tip of the iceberg. When you see reports like this, how many other people do these sickos represent? How many other people are doing the exact same things and even worse than these? I mean, I don't even know how you can get much worse, but I'm sure you can. Perkins was fired from his job after the arrest, while Cynthia resigned from her teaching role. So they have these positions of trust in the community. People trusted Cynthia as a teacher to her children. People trusted Dennis as a protector of the Fourth Amendment rights, the Second Amendment rights, the First Amendment rights, securing those rights. And all the while, they're doing this crazy stuff that involved children. She had taught English arts at Westside Junior High School since 2016. Prior to that, she worked at North Live Oak Elementary and Live Oak Middle School for 4 years. So for years, this sicko right here and this sicko right here, this sicko was teaching kids, and this sicko right here was supposed to be dispensing justice in their community, in the community in Louisiana. Cynthia filed for divorce shortly after the arrest, alleging that Dennis had manipulated her into committing the crimes. How do you get manipulated into doing that horrible stuff with little kids? Following the baking incident, it was alleged that the father of a student who ate the contaminated cupcakes had fallen into a debilitating depression over the incident and has not been able to find gainful employment. I can see how that would mess you up. Another lawsuit claimed that a student and a parent have been afflicted by mental health and behavioral problems and have not been able to sleep since the cupcakes incident. In a suit filed last May, a student's parents alleged that Cynthia showed a girl inappropriate images and that she also photographed and videotaped the minor. All 4 lawsuits, which were filed separately, also accused the Livingston Parish School Board of negligence. In 2014, Perkins was investigated when rape allegations were made against him by a Baton Rouge police officer. Those allegations did not result in charges. And how many of them don't? How many times have people come forward and said, hey, this cop did this to me right here, and they conduct this internal investigation on themselves, and then they find out, hey, there was no wrongdoing. Nothing happened. What about the body camera footage? Well, it was mysteriously turned off, or it malfunctioned, or here's the body cam footage, and it's heavily redacted, edited to make the cop, paint the cop in the best possible light. How many times have we seen that? Where people are sure they didn't have video evidence, but they and somebody else and another witness came forward and said, yeah, this cop did this to me. This cop did this to my loved one. This cop did this to a family member or to a friend. And they look into it and it's like, no, we found that there was no wrongdoing. So they dismissed these allegations. It didn't result in charges. Maybe they should have taken it a little bit more seriously back in 2014. Can you imagine how much mental turmoil could have been averted if they had tried this guy and pressed a little further and investigated a little more back in 2014, instead of letting it go on for years and years? At the time of Cynthia's sentencing, Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry said, quote, today Cynthia Perkins admitted to her crimes and pled guilty in court. I think this means this should be she. She not only waived any right to appeal and attempt to avoid conviction, but she also spared the victims from reliving their horrific crimes during this particular trial. Per the plea deal, Cynthia had to agree to certain facts in the case, such as assisting her husband in the sexual assault of a juvenile, helping him film a juvenile while bathing, and lacing desserts with his, yep, you're reading that right, before giving them to school-age children. Cynthia voiced a lengthy apology to the victims, her friends, and family before the sentencing. This is interesting. I would also like to apologize to my 3 children. Can you imagine this woman? Can you imagine this woman right here having children? How did she treat them? I haven't spoken to them in 3 years. I love them and I miss them, and I'm sorry, Perkins said. But one of her children, born during her first marriage, described her in a letter to the court as a, quote, horrible and manipulative mother. My life is so much better without you, said her firstborn child. If you got a child saying that their life is better without you, you probably messed up somewhere along the line. And that's putting it nicely. In May, another woman who had been implicated in the case, Melanie Curtin, was sentenced to life in prison after it emerged that Dennis and Cynthia Perkins were in possession of a video showing Curtin raping a minor in their home. So there's collusion against and conspiracy against children from these adults who are in trusted positions in their community. During Curtin's trial, the victim said, quote, "When I saw parts of the video, I wanted to literally die." The victim told the court that she'd been drinking alcohol with Perkins and Curtin when the attack took place. Curtin and Perkins had previously been in a relationship together. These people are sick. I thought the first comment under this, I think it's the Daily Mail. The first comment under this Daily Mail article says, they did a lot more than this article is telling. The actual court transcripts are online. If you have a weak stomach, I will warn you that it's 10 times worse. These two are really demented. And I found this on Twitter right here. This guy said he also had thousands of files of children, produced child porn, filmed him doing this to unconscious women, filmed himself. I remember this part right here. When this first came out in 2019, 2020, I remember that being one of the original allegations. Doing this right here into energy drinks and giving it to kids, plus the cupcakes thing. These people are very sick, very sick. And there are people like this in societies and communities all across the world, not just in our country. And they're in trusted positions. They're deputies, they're police officers, they're lieutenants, they're sergeants, they're teachers, they're, healthcare workers. And I'm not painting a broad brush toward every one of these professions, but especially as parents, you got to be on your toes. You don't know who you can really trust. You put your trust in somebody's hands and they do something like this, you will definitely live to regret it. That's why I call it the 15,000 hour public fool system, because you got to be pretty foolish to have the government indoctrinate your children and put these people in their charge. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below if you haven't done so already. And those comments, by the way, they help me combat the algorithm and, help this channel out immensely. You would not even believe it. So leave your comments. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com, and grab one of these hard-hitting, conversation-starting designs you can get from the store. You can put on any shirt, hoodie, mug, cell phone case, hat, cap, whatever you want. I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe for more tyranny-busting content.